Hello and welcome to 22 AD's display of ancient and medieval artillery. 22 AD is a specialist living history group that researches, builds and operates pre-gunpowder artillery and associated missile weapons. Each year at Gladstone Range in the Wairarapa, 22 AD hosts an event for members of other groups who have an interest in period shooting called the Weapons of Medieval Destruction Fling. This year the event will be taking place over Anzac weekend. It's open to the public, and at the event you will see all the machines on display here operating on the range alongside other similar machines. As well as this, there will be archers, black powder shooters and a few other things that go bang. There will be a period encampment covering from ancient Rome through to the New Zealand Wars, with reenactors from periods throughout the times to talk to. There'll be small-scale machines like Chucky operating on small ranges for kids to try their hand, under supervision. More on the WMD later. First, let's take a look at the machines here today. The machines you see are all fully operational replicas of actual artillery used in battle and siege over the last 2,407 years. Yes, that is a very specific time, and there's a reason for that. In 399 BC, Dionysius I, in preparing Syracuse for a potential siege, gathered together artisans and engineers for the express purpose of coming up with new machines and devices to help defend the city. One of the things he produced was the gastrophetes, or belly shooter. The gastrophetes is a crossbow-like device that had a lateral ratchet and was cocked by the operator pushing on the rear of the bow with it braced on something solid, like a wall or the ground. From this device, the ballista family of machines quickly evolved, ranging from the small arrow-throwing machines such as our first machine here, Scipio. Unlike the gastrophetes, which uses a wooden bow, Scipio has a torsion frame and uses twisted ropes or skeins to drive a pair of throwing arms. This torsion system is significantly more powerful than a spring wood bow and requires a winch to draw. The ballista was used extensively throughout the period, and many different sizes and types were developed, with the largest able to throw large stone balls several hundred meters. During the siege of Tyre in 332 BC, Alexander the Great employed a great number of the machines to attack the city. The Romans also extensively used the ballista, and from it developed our next machine, Chucky. Chucky is a small but very powerful single throwing-arm torsion engine. Chucky is a roughly half-scale replica of a mangonel, or onager as it was commonly known, after a type of mule known for its vicious kick. Chucky is a veteran of many events and demonstrations and has proven to be highly reliable and very accurate, with consistent throws of over 80 metres. He's thrown as far as 120 metres. When Chucky was first built, he broke his first 3 throwing arms within a couple of months, before eventually settling on his Australian gum arm that he's still using. You'll note that Chucky uses a short sling, not, as is often shown, a giant spoon. Quite simply, a spoon mechanism is not how these machines worked, as they cannot achieve the acceleration needed to get any useful range with the missile. Next we move on to the Middle Ages, due in large part to there being little or no siege artillery during the intervening period. The giant crossbow-looking machine is the Dragon. The technical name for this sort of machine is giant crossbow, but it's also known as an arbalist. The Dragon was designed and built by Matthew Polar, a veteran reenactor. The Dragon uses a steel bow and winch mechanism to fire large arrows a substantial distance. Generally, giant crossbows of this time used wooden bows, but the steel bow is more powerful and reliable. The Dragon can be mounted on either a wheeled base for battlefield mobility or a static base for defence, and with an experienced crew is able to maintain a good rate of fire, making this machine a real asset in multiple roles. Finally, we have the rather large assembly in the middle of the floor, Katie. Katie is a 13th century swinging counterweight trebuchet, the supergun of the Middle Ages. The trebuchet is actually a descendant of the humble sling. With a long evolution through the sling staff, the pole-mounted sling staff, and various forms of people and weight-powered trebuchets, we finally get this machine. While seemingly a simple axle-arm counterweight and sling system, the trebuchet is a highly sensitive instrument that requires skill to both construct and operate. Careless or ignorant attempts are often met with a painful lesson for amateurs who've tried to make their own based on the "it seemed like a good idea at the time" principle. Katie is the product of 2 years of research and field testing and is the stepping stone to a full-sized machine due to be built in 2009 named Thor. Eventually, machines like Katie coexisted with gunpowder cannon for over 100 years, outperforming them consistently. In siege warfare, the trebuchet was often decisive. At the siege of Stirling Castle, Edward Longshanks deployed a machine called Warwolf that was able to throw a stone ball weighing 300 pounds over 250 metres. When its first shot brought down a large amount of wall, the Scots tried to surrender, but Longshanks was unimpressed after having gone to the effort of stripping the churches and the surrounding area of lead for his counterweight and continued his attacks on the castle. A form of trebuchet was even used in combat as late as 1779, when the defenders used one during the siege of Gibraltar to strike targets they were unable to depress their guns enough to strike. Eventually, the powder monkeys did get their act together, and their toys became more reliable and less likely to explode, killing the crew, and the machines of old were replaced with pretty much what we have today. But there's still a place you can go to see the weapons of old in operation again. On the 26th and 27th of April at Gladstone Range, 22AD will be hosting the annual Weapons of Medieval Destruction Fling. Here are some pictures from last year's event to whet your appetite.